an episode on time, like within 2 weeks, or at 2 weeks of the last one. Wow. Isn't that amazing, Mathwiz? Hello, Mathwiz. I'm your host, Craftsdwarf. Welcome to the Nen Show.
I don't exist.
Oh no, Mathwiz is a spirit. I don't know.
I'm a soul, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know
All
what
right.
I'm doing. Hello.
I don't know what this is. We didn't plan for this bit. It just happened and it didn't work out. It's fine. We'll just move on to comments for the first time in a little while. Did you have comments, Mathwiz?
I'm bad at having responses to comments. I did look at them. I swear I looked at the comments. And there are good ones here. It's just not much that I feel that I can add on to. I mean, okay, I feel like there's the one from Jonicha3 about, because I made the comment about oh, why is Mako always hitting Soul when it's not really Soul's fault? But it does make sense in the context of, her father's a womanizer. So it would make sense that even if it's not I don't know, her anger being towards Soul, coming from that place of, her upbringing, that kind of makes sense. It doesn't make the joke any funnier, but at least it's not just a bad joke with no context. There's
a reason for it. Death Alchemist even kind of pointed out that that difference between Soul and her father also kind of highlight because that's what happens during that first chapter is Soul appears to be betraying Maka for Blair, basically doing what her dad seems to have broken up with her mother over, but then no, it was a ruse, and they're able to stay together. So Death Alchemist also, because I brought up Mashima, and I forgot because I realized that there was a whole interview they did, but Mashima and Ohkubo are actually friends. So, yeah. From what I remember about the interview, Mashima, the one part that I remember, they definitely talk about more. I just only remember the fan service exchange because Mashima said that he likes the fan service cat character from Fire Force, and because he thought it was kind of creative, and Ohkubo said that they liked Brandish from the Alvera's arc, I think. So yeah, I don't know why that's the only part I remember. Ralph Racine asks if Mathwiz, do we have new redesigns and power-ups after the time skip?
I don't know.
I don't, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I can put a hat on my hat, and we can just add
post time
hats.
Skip design. There we go. Oliver Mort had a post, or just contrasting Stein and Medusa more a bit, how Stein is really interested in studying what already exists, taking it apart, where Medusa is interested in advancing science and how that feeds into their sort of conflict and also their powers, because again I was kind of talking about it before with how Medusa has motion and Stein keeps things in place. So yeah, neat. Gabriel Wright had a few things to say, but the one I took notice of is how the antagonists keep finding external ways to alleviate their fears, where the antagonists just focus on getting better and improving internally, which is again a big thing in Shounen that derives from Buddhist ideas, I think, with the lack of materialism. I talked about it with Bleach. You have Aizen, who used a Hokugokyu, versus Ichigo, who meditated and looked inwardly. Fishman Island, you had the fishmen who used drugs with that where obviously the characters don't. So stuff like that. It's just super. Dragon Ball with Cell and Boo, who absorb power from others. Stuff it's really common. But I didn't apply it to Soul Eater until that reading that one. And last one, if you, I assume you didn't have anything to add onto that. But Monster of Analysis asks if we'd have other people on. We've discussed it. And in fact, having experience with the Weeb Club, just even we've been able to we had a hiatus lately because we were planning something that didn't work out. But other than that, we've been mostly consistent with our release. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's ever been a time where it's oh no, I wasn't able to finish the reading, so I'll have to put it off a week, or anything like that. Where with the Weeb Club, we have a tighter recording schedule, and also there's 3 of us, so we have had to put it back a week. So it's it's just way easier to manage with just the 2 of us. and we did consider some ideas for bringing on like a third person to discuss like maybe shonen filler movies or something like that, but we just never went through with it. So yeah, basically it's just a hassle is what I'm trying to say about it.
Maybe someday we can do a one-off special.
Maybe.
Our own little shonen filler movie, if you will.
Anyway, let's get on to the reading.
Sequel series nobody wanted.
Like Soul Eater or not, right? Apparently, I don't know. So anyway, back to the school. Crona's in captivity, and they talk about how they're going to bring them into the or consider like a trial run as a student. Oh yeah, so Stein has been having hallucinations with the Medusa inside of him, where he sees her as like a representation of his madness. Though I guess I don't know. See, like, I guess to compare this reading to the last, like, I still need to like go through the arcs and think about like how I'd rank them, individually. I don't think I guess how I would compare this reading to the last one is that the last one had higher highs and lower lows, where this one is, I don't think it peaked. There was definitely some good stuff, but I don't think it peaked as much as like the Maka Crona fight for me. But like there was less annoying fan service, so there was but I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, this is about the time when I had been watching when I watched the anime way back. I think they adapt this arc, and then things kind of start to go off into the anime original stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember the stuff with Brew not being... I mean, like, the stuff with Crona is always good, but otherwise, I mean, like, I don't know. There are some ways in which I feel like as the story's gone along, Ohkubo's kind of gotten a better grasp of structure and whatnot, but then at the same time, there's no real, like, big like impactful moment in this arc besides the stuff with Crona, but that was kind of already there before.
I mean, I thought the soul stuff was good, but and well, I don't know, we'll see, because like again, we're only halfway done with the story. So
well, yeah, because this one it definitely feels kind of like more of a setup arc. Like the stuff with Medusa, it built to like, oh, the Kishin gets set free, so there was like a big climax there, whereas this one kind of keeps... There's more to go. Like, we don't really have... There's arachnophobia still around and whatnot. So
yeah, this might be an issue of the way I sort of structured it, because like I did some... I checked a while ago, and the average amount of material we cover on the Nen Show is like 5 to 6 volumes an episode. Though definitely have longer ones, like with like Fairy Tail. But those were balanced out by like some of the One Piece ones that were only like 2 or 3 volumes, But so I tried to keep that, because I thought, oh, it's 25 volumes, so we'll just do 4 episodes. Though there is definitely like I believe with the next reading, or maybe I think it's the next reading, where there's like going to be a time skip, but it'll be in the middle of the reading, where like normally with the time skips we'd stop right before that. But like, I mean, I guess maybe we could have made this one longer, but then that would have resulted in the rest being shorter, or maybe I should have made it 3 episodes. So hindsight. But I guess that's also the issue is with this is a series we haven't read yet. Where with obviously like with one like Bleach was the only one we'd had that issue before, but that was also that one turned out pretty fine, I'd say. Where Naruto we'd had previous experience with. One Piece I knew really well. Hunter x Hunter and Yu Hakusho we'd both gone through before. Fairy Tail and Rave I'd gone through before, so this is the first time like after this reading you're basically going to be nearly blind, and so yeah, I don't maybe if I'd read the series beforehand I would have been able to structure it better, but so it's the Brew arc is decently long, but yeah, it's not super climactic. Like it's just kind of it ends and it's building up these mysteries, but it's we haven't gotten the big a lot of big payoffs yet. So anyway, Maka goes into Crona's sort of cell, and Crona has named parts of the cell, which it's a funny gag, but also like the only way that Crona, because Crona's been so lonely, like they humanize the cell to try and like have anyone, I guess, is the idea. So kind of funny, kind of sad.
Yeah, and also just the fact that like it does make for kind of like a good joke, because Crona's like the sort of fish out of water in this situation. But I mean, the fact that when Maka first goes to see Crona and they're not on the bed, but they're like in their corner, That's kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure how to say it. Like there's like a tragicness to it that, it's like, it kind of is like that way of showing that like they're out of place. Like they're not where they should be. They're just kind of in the corner, just kind of like hiding over
like
there.
even though the bed is more comfortable, the corner is the space that Crona is more familiar with. So even though they're in a better environment, they go to what's familiar, basically, to them. Even though that familiarity is in itself like harmful and toxic. And
even in this situation when they're just like isolated in a room, it's not like they're hiding from anything because there's no one else in the room, but yet they're still kind of like out in the corner where they won't be seen or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting detail.
Anyway, Ragnarok comes out. There's some banter, some... I'm glad there's not much, but fan service stuff. Okay, this part was good. So, to try and get Crona to open up a bit, Maka suggests they write a poem.
Yes.
So I actually saw this page out of context before reading it, and I was amused by it. Because, out of context, it was funny in its own way because I didn't know Crona wrote the thing that made everyone depressed. Because, everyone, reads it and they go, even Black Star, they go to the corner and it's just one by one. And then Crona just joins in without reading it. And Sid does too. He's just I wish I'd never been born. He didn't read the poem or anything. He's just he just joins in.
Yeah, this is probably one of the funnier jokes in Soul Eater. I think I remember it more from the anime just because, I don't know, manga has timing and pacing, but for me it just kind of, with the sound effects and stuff, to just the sharp cuts, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's a good gag.
Yeah, it's fun.
But it's also one of those things where they never explain what's in the poem, so it's what was it? What was so depressing that everybody...
Right. It's kind of like the Kurama face in Yu Yu Hakusho, where it's just something it's so beyond what we could possibly expect at it's better not to show it because, to prevent that dissonance. So it's left in the air, but also, that's the only way it can have that extreme effect to the characters if we don't see it. Because obviously we're not going to be depressed and go in the corner. Or if it's even safe for a shonen manga to show. Anyway, the next arc comes into, there's the Golem going out of order. So Maka and Sol and Crona are sent to deal with it. As we get introduced to Saw, Stein and Marie talk about how, it's strange that the Golem is the first one to be, submitting to madness when they're so orderly. So, normally they would be the last and humans would be first because they're talking about Ashura's effect on the world. So they're like, oh, something's wrong. And just as Maka and Sol find out that, yes, something is horribly wrong. And yeah, I guess, with this arc, because, I wouldn't say I noticed, with the previous one, I noticed, a bunch of ideas with all the characters being established, where with this reading, I mostly was focusing on the big, the one recurring one, I guess, where there's, sort of restraint and madness, and also, or not being restrained, or, and that which also, it does tie back into the fear and courage stuff, for sure, especially with Maka, and I think it was Clown later, Saw, for example, he's a character who's been restrained for 800 years as he, jumped from body to body and just lived the same life in restraint, to try and stay out of sight of, DWMA. And now he's fuck it, with Ashura freed, the status quo has changed, so he's going to be completely unrestrained. But he's there's the part where he kind of gets existential for a moment where he's it doesn't feel right. I've been so restrained so long I'm not even 1% sure who I am anymore, or which I don't think comes up again during this reading at least, but it's been set up, I suppose, since like I said, there's only so much that gets resolved during this stretch of chapters. Did you have any thoughts on the Golem fighting?
I mean, yeah,
it's
a fight. The more interesting stuff is kind of, because you get the contrast of the spider silk paralyzing Maka, and Soul's I can't do anything, but there's the contrast with Justin Law, because he was able to go out without even a weapon, or was it without a Meister?
It
was without a Meister because he is a weapon. Duh.
Yes.
And that's the contrast with Soul, because Soul is like, I can't do any of this, but it's
and that was
two weapons fighting each other.
Yes. Well, because Soul's whole problem is that he's like he doesn't like being with people, and so his like cynicalness is a barrier, and he's keeps himself closed off from other people, and of course this causes issues with Maka, who wants to be stronger, but Soul puts himself in front of her, etc., etc. Where like it being able to like fight as his own weapon, he wouldn't need to like put Maka in danger, or he'd just be able to be alone. And so like through Justin and Saw, we kind of see that ideal for Soul. So he's of course he has that sort of like, why can't I do that? But also I just want to say Saw's fighting style is really cool. Like I like the shit he does with his chains, like because the way he kind of like wraps them around himself and like holds them and uses them and like moves with it like chains in his legs or feet and like glides along. It's cool. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Because like I definitely think his art has got like he's definitely it's getting good for sure. Like I'm still not sure if it's at like Fire Force's level yet, which is understandable since he it's still a few years off, but it's good. It's definitely better than it was before. Also, they introduced a mechanic I don't think they fully explained yet, where like Justin, he like says a prayer and he gets even stronger. Like he's able to amplify his powers by doing, I guess in this case it's something like related to his person. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe they did explain it in this. I feel like it definitely happened again with a different or something. But I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I'll consider that going forward. And of course, Arachnophobia gets revived, but I'll have more to say on her later, because Medusa is still the most the best antagonist so far. She's horrible, but that's also part of why she's good.
Yeah, I really like talking about the art. I really like Arachne's design with like the way that her like coat form has like the like spider legs at the top. And like every now and then, if you get like a close up on her eye, it looks like she's got like the spider web, and like the netting at the top of her dress like forms like a web. So it's a very striking design in getting across that whole like spider aesthetic.
No, yeah, the design, like he definitely has some good designs. Like I talked about, like Medusa's, I also really like. Since I talked about it last time too, but yeah, it's cool. I do like the gag where Maka, like, since she can't move, they put her in the coffin, and she's like, hey, don't do that, please. And Crona's so precious, because Crona, they bring her a flower, like, like, for the dead. Wait, no, I don't think Crona meant it that way, but it's still. And Maka's like, I know how Sid Sensei feels with the jokes about, or the way, because he's a zombie, so, and now she's dead, I guess. Also, when we first saw Mosquito, for some reason, I definitely thought about the gremlin in Soul's Mind, just with the, like, really short character with a round head and a suit, but later they were seen more closely to each other, and I'm like, okay, no, the details on the suit are completely different, but I definitely saw saw them as similar at first for some reason, but yeah, Arachnophobia is this big group, and now that Arachne is back, they become active again, and that sort of like, basically like Ashura being released, like, again, continues to change everything, or, just keep things moving forward, which, I guess Medusa, she comes back too, so. And I guess that is true, because like Stein's kind of like losing himself as everything's changing, where Medusa's like, at the end of the day, she's the one who wins, so I didn't think about that, actually. She's getting more power as things are changing, and Stein's losing himself, so.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting looking back on this material, because I remember, I think, having a bit of a gripe with like the way I think Medusa was handled, because I was like, oh, well, they're introducing all these new characters, but yet they still can't get rid of the old villain. Like, what's up with that? It was a very dumb complaint, because like now I'm looking back on it, I'm like, well, obviously Medusa contributes so much to the story, and is, I don't know, she's an interesting character to have around, and she's got her snakes and whatnot and everying.
She's got a good network. Presence, like the one the page you tweeted of her behind Crona, and it's like fuck, it's like, and her faces are always good when she does those like evil face, like she's a great piece of shit.
Yeah, she great antagonist, very well written. Awful, terrible, bad, evil person.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of her for sure. Like Arachne, I have no idea. You know, that I definitely I'll talk because I think I don't know. I like how he does the animal motifs. And because I'll have some comparison between Arachne and Medusa later when I'll bring it up when they interact. But it's cool. Samaka's bedridden. Like she can't even feed herself, so like that's kind of funny. Kid, I like his symmetry gag is usually pretty, it's like whatever, but I like this one where he's like, because he's thinking about her and he's like making the cat, like, oh man, these shelves in front of you must have this asymmetry must be bothering you, so I'll organize it. Like, I just like the thoughtfulness of it because obviously it's dumb and only he cares, but like he's still thinking of her in her time of need, when she's unable to do anything. So I was like, yeah, kid, nice, you're being good. Oh, that's right, and they doodle on her face, and obviously it's Black Star's signature. I don't know who put the mustache there, but she's like, for some reason the star also makes me think of Satan and that like Satanism, and then she's got the Hitler mustache, so it's like, why would you bully Maka like this?
Yeah, and then there's a panel where she's just like, I will shred your Achilles tendons.
Right, she doesn't let up with that threat. She's gonna make it so you can't move either. Like, Stein has another moment with the Medusa. He brings up maybe like, oh, maybe I should quit smoking. Like he's thinking about further restraining himself to avoid losing it. And part of me thought that maybe if he stopped being restrained in this area, then maybe he'd be more like he'd be able to like as a stress relief thing. Like very random example, but like if you're working out and dieting, like they still like, especially like they recommend having like cheat days where you have like one day every like maybe a month or so where you like which you just eat whatever you want, which is good for stress relief, and it helps like even though you do you gain more weight during that period or during that day, like you're still like, again, it's good for mental, it's good like you're able to, your body doesn't forget how to process that food, where and basically a lot of stuff like that. So there is
you do even get the like the little scene, it's a little later, but where Death Scythe, Amaka's dad, offers him the cigarette or whatever, because there's obviously like for something like that there will be like withdrawal systems that put you more on edge. So in a way, I don't know, you get, I guess, I don't know how you could see it. Like, Stein says, like, if I quit the smoking, then, or like, if I can't even do this, then how am I ever going to fight off the madness? But, like, also, that's kind of putting him more on edge might make him less stable. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, because, like, when we do see him smoking later, he's definitely, like, not looking good. So it is, the way they use it. Like, that was just an idea I had, but the way they use it is definitely, like, him slipping into smoking is his mental state continuing to slip out of order, basically. And there's also in the exchange, like Stein mentions, like, oh, the order, the restraint, put in place by God, and Medusa, counters that, so like, interesting. Yeah, well, see, okay. And someone in the comments said this too, but like, oh, pay attention to Black Star's whole surpassing God thing. I'm like, is God gonna become a thing in this manga? Because now I'm like I know the moon is weird and creepy, and I don't know if it's like, is the moon God, is the sun God? I don't know anymore. I don't know anything. Anyway,
well, I mean, you have like, there's even a point where like I think it was Justin, like he references death as like God or whatever, or maybe he's not referencing death, but like he talks in response to or Shinigami. I'm so used to the dub where he's just death.
No, yeah, that's fair, because he's definitely like a Grim Reaper kind of like visually, so that's what he's supposed to be. So that death makes sense, because that's what we also call that. Shinigami just means death god. That's what death is, a death god. So that's fair. But like I know who you're talking about, for at least if you said that. But you're right, because he even says like, oh, I have a body of a god. Like he sees like he's because he is the son of a godlike being. So yeah. So I guess I should have been considering shooting. Well, then there's also the what's it called? The Evian. That's the name I was thinking of. Who's mysterious figure, but was considered like on part, that partnered with death. So Shinigami. So I don't know. There's some little bit details like Black Star being mad about Maka being hurt and Soul, being tempted by the ogre. The door is always open. Oh yeah, Arachnophobia has Mifune and Angela, though of course they're threatening Angela, but or like yeah. And I didn't notice Angela has the chameleon hat last time. Fitting her into the whole animal thing all the way. Like Blair, even though she's apparently not a witch, she still looks like a cat. And then there's the frog, the mouse, the now spider snake, and chameleon. So yeah, Black Star runs into Mifune again. This fight was definitely good for like it was cool. Like I like the chain sickle stuff is cool, and then like there's the part where Mifune, like his fighting style is cool too, where he just has like a bunch of swords, and like there's one part where he like pins the chain down, and I don't know, he does some. It's a cool looking fight.
Oh, so last time you made fun of him for having so many swords, and now it's cool.
Damn it! No, he made it cool. Well, because last time I didn't know why he had so many swords, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, okay, now I know. It's cool.
Well, because like I guess the contrast between this fight and the last one is that Mifune wasn't really necessarily taking it seriously. Like he was looking down. So like in the first fight, he's kind of looking down on Black Star. He's like, oh, you're just a kid. But then Black Star kind of gets the one up on him and is able to surprise him because he's not taking him seriously. Yeah. But then this time he does take Black Star a little more seriously, even though he's still not going all out against Black Star because he didn't have to. He was able to beat him without doing that. But he, this time he saw him as a like, oh, I've seen you've grown, you've made progress. So he at least put a little more effort in.
Right. He's looking closer at Black Star now, and it's still, they both walk away still, but and we got Mifune's backstory where he just he cares about kids a lot, and I like Sabaki's like, you should come to school and become a teacher, and he's like, that's stupid. I would never do that. Like he's thinking about it though. He's thinking about it. Because that he would that definitely seems like it'd be better, but at the same time it's like the rules of like DWMA and their eternal crusade against witches keeps Angela not being safe there because ultimately she'd just be an easy final step to getting the weapon, and so they're incompatible even though like by the weird like we do learn a bit more about witches. Like apparently witches are the reasons Arachne is the creator of those weapons. Like the first one too, which made her hated by witches and DWMA because she's she doesn't have standards for what makes weapons, and DWMA is the strongest, and obviously she's the reason that witches are targeted by the schools because of the weapons that Death needs. So yeah. Oh yeah, and I guess the other thing is that there's the little thing with the candy. Like Black Star says, oh, it's from a sweet samurai, like because he is really nice to kids, but also like in like especially with Black Star, like he gave him a harsh lesson. It's actually seaweed flavor. It's a bitter pill. So like, it's little interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think about that a bit more. Maybe more will come when we get more of Mifune later. But he can be nice to kids, but like even his harshness is ultimately like positive because he's teaching. Like he forced Black Star to get better than the first encounter, and even when he leaves, he's like, you should better understand the presence inside Tsubaki so that you could actually use the uncanny sword properly. And as we find out later, him not being able to use the uncanny sword properly is literally killing him. So see, I guess so far it's like this stuff so far has been like neat, but it's definitely like again nothing that like quite got to me emotionally like the Maka Crona stuff. So which is why I say like the baseline good level is higher, but it also doesn't reach the same highs as the first reading for me personally. So hopefully the series comes to though later. There's some negative emotions though, because we get the mother and daughter. The daughter hates snakes, the mother hates spiders, and then Medusa comes back and takes over the little girl. Bitch. But yeah, like so like I haven't read that many monthly manga, I suppose, but recently I read, I've been reading Soul Eater, and I also read Sora no Toshimono, and I don't know, one thing I just noticed about the monthly chapters is them being longer, like I definitely think really helps because like we see more of the life of Medusa as this little girl. And we also get like stuff like DWA talking about the Book of Evian, and the stuff with the students. So it's like before at the end of the chapter, Medusa goes to Arachne, and it's like the fact that it's monthly allows it more time to have all that the littler stuff that I do. I think it's nice because we see the family, we see them reacting to Medusa taking over.
You mean filler? So, monthly chapters just means filler, obviously.
No.
No one cares about the slice of life elements. It's all about. Well, I don't even know why I'd call it slice of life. It's not what it is.
Yeah, because it's definitely like when she scares the shit out of the mom, it's like because she's making creepy Medusa faces. Like, of course it's gonna be scary, but she's just trying to like play the part of the little girl until Arachne shows up, and she's just immediately like kills the spider. And it really like the way the spider, it's like graphically destroyed basically. Like when she pulls her hand away, she's still got like a leg of the spider stuck to her, and there's goop, and it's really gross. But I guess like it's weird because it doesn't seem super like she just leaves and she doesn't hurt the family, and in leaving she keeps them out of danger, even though also she abducted their daughter. So I don't know. I guess since she doesn't care like about destroying like Crona, Crona's just an object to her. So like but she won't destroy anything she doesn't like need to. She didn't randomly kill the family.
Well, yeah, there's also I don't know. I guess you could say maybe there's even something to that because you brought up Crona, and obviously Medusa. Just because Crona wasn't like the experiment with Crona wasn't working, Medusa didn't go so far as to kill them because now things have changed and now Crona is actually useful, so that pawn is still on the table. And so
yeah, maybe this family, like, yeah, it could be like, maybe the family will be of use to her, or even if like the fact that they're not of use, like there's no reason either or to kill them, so like why bother? Like it's just extra effort perhaps. So I definitely don't think it's like a mercy or like kindness thing, but it's like she's not just so senseless as to just kill randomly, I suppose, is what I'm noticing.
She's basically like a long-running Shounen Jump author. She leaves her plot threads on the table to maybe come back to them later.
Threads? I thought that was Arachne's deal. Sorry. I'm terrible. So anyway, Stein's teaching about dual arts and how teams can also soul resonate to get even more power. Also, I saw what you were implying before with Ox, because like you're just like, it's interesting for him to reveal, to introduce the character through the side, or like on the side in this less consequential chapter like this, and I'm like, okay, and then now Ox is like an actual character and doing things, and appears in the brew arc, and I'm like, okay, now I understand why Mathwiz, because obviously the brew arc was adapted, so.
Well, yeah, because otherwise, even if I didn't know ahead of time, I would have seen this new character being introduced, and it's like, they didn't really do anything. Like, they were just name dropped, and they were in, like, a panel, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, and now he's a dude who does things, and, Lightning King, he's a nerd. So, yeah. And, yeah, there's some gags in the fight with, he keeps zapping, first Blackstar, then Blackstar and Maka, and Blackstar just destroys him out of anger. Like, what? It's a class about teamwork, yet you knocked out your partner. Like, nice going. But yeah, anyway, we see Arachne's group for a bit before Medusa comes in, and we get a bit of an interaction. What did you think about the interaction between the two?
I think the part that I had noted down, thinking, maybe this will come up later, there's, it was like when she first shows up, and there's the whole point about Arachne is talking about how Medusa showing up herself, like it's it takes a lot of nerve to come in like this by yourself, to go into enemy territory alone or whatever, and kind of like what she did with DWMA, where she says I have to experience everything for myself, or I can't really like make it real, whereas Arachne has all her minions do things for her. She just kind of sits back in her lair and lets all her she lets her pawns go out and do all the dangerous stuff, and she just kind of waits for them to do it. But whereas
Right,
like
which-
with Medusa, she will
yes.
also do that. She'll have, like, as we see, she has spies kind of infiltrating everywhere. So she's able to kind of play against both sides, but she's also willing to go in herself and take the risk for like a bigger reward sort of thing.
Yeah, well, because you said it yourself, like, you know, Arachne's patient. She's a spider. She spins her webs of influence, basically. And, well, because what I noticed, because, like, apparently 800 years ago, Medusa was the one who betrayed Arachne and led to her being, you know, sort of stuck in spider form for, you know, 800 years. So, and she has the frog spy, in Arachne's, like group. So, you know, she's got her fangs prepped, basically, because, you know, that, like, the snake is the, you know, the one who, like, the backstabbing, like, the animal that people use for, like, that kind of analogy, like, you know, oh, you're a snake, you're a two-time, or, you know, or something like that. So of course she's, you know, up to sneaky shit. But yeah, she's also, like, you know, Fang, she's the one who acts. Like, she's, you know, snakes just do things, you know, themselves, where spiders just wait patiently, so to speak. So of course Medusa would be the one to go up front and do things herself. Like, even, yeah, I guess even back in the Medusa invasion, like, you know, the first thing they ran into was the snake's fangs, you could say, Medusa. So, like I said, I like how he's doing what he's doing with the animal motif. It's fun.
And I thought that there was another moment later, like after the brew retrieval thing happens, and they end up, so Medusa's group ends up with the real tool, but you know, Arachnophobia, they end up having like the broken fake
thing,
right, but they're able to use it as like a bluff, which I also thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
and I guess because it's, you know, it's another one of those what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. If you have something to say, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like, both the antagonists sort of won in a sense, even though one of them definitely, like, lost, you know, with yeah, that, so it's kind of neat, you know, neat going forward, I guess, that both the antagonists have something over DWMA, where Arachne appears to have brew, where Medusa actually has it. So, but
it's something
that's skipping ahead a bit too.
I think also like, just thinking of the different ways in which they do things, because, you know, Arachne's not going in and doing it herself, you could say that maybe that's giving Medusa the chance to, I mean, Medusa's not doing it herself either, but, you know, Medusa seemed, like, in this arc, or this stretch in particular, it seemed like she was having more success in thwarting the plans and kind of ending up with the bigger rewards because of her way of doing things, whereas, you know, like, Arachne, she's got this bluff. She doesn't have the actual weapon, and I don't know if that also kind of plays into, you know, doing something yourself and assuming the danger versus, you know, using things and kind of staying back. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, because that's interesting. And there will be more of them all, obviously, so I'll definitely keep that in mind going forward.
Also, I thought that it was mentioned that there were, like, 3 sisters, and I don't know if the third
Yes, there were the 3 Gorgon sisters, Arachne, Medusa, and another one who we don't know anything about yet, if they are still alive at all, or, I mean, which wouldn't surprise me, considering they're both 800 years old as is.
Yeah, I'd assume that the
least
third
we're
one
going.
is out there somewhere. Like, we know that Arachne is Medusa's older sister, but I don't think it's ever stated if, like, Medusa is the youngest.
Is Medusa the middle sister or the youngest sister? Right. We don't know. So.
Oh, that's right. I had also wanted to mention earlier, because we kind of been talking about it off the podcast. Medusa's whole, like, the whole, like, body swapping thing. Like, she takes over a new host.
Yeah.
I guess you had said that it's kind of like a snake shedding its skin. So it would kind of play into
I didn't
the
even
similar
think about it
motif with, like, Orochimaru.
Yes, where because yeah, they just take over other host bodies, and that becomes, you know, that was a whole big thing with Orochimaru, and now Medusa's doing the same thing. And yeah, my first assumption, because since they're both snake thing antagonists, is, you know, a snake shedding its skin. So I'm wondering if this is maybe a trope from something else that they're both borrowing from, like that kind of thing, or is it just them both having the same idea because they're having these snake themed antagonists, you know? So, you know. Interesting to consider, because yeah, I didn't think about it until you brought it up. So anyway, they're hanging out at a party at the school. Everyone, Liz is trying to hit on boys, and then, like, Patty and Soul, or no, it's Black Star, but not Soul. I'm stupid. They pretend to be Liz's, like, children to keep, like, they just, I don't know why. I don't know. It's just silly. and then there's a moment where Crona is feeling relaxed, and they're just like, what was I saying before I kind of interrupted?
Something about the party.
Oh yeah, no, I just like that. Crona's everyone's like being nice and friendly to Crona. Like Crona's accepted and in a good environment.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have all the different ways in which the characters are kind of trying to connect with Crona. Like you've got you have Kid who's just kind of being, I don't know, polite and reserved and just kind of like, go at your own pace. And then Black Star's like, hey, and just kind of as Black Star be just getting all up close and personal and being like, kind of,
I'll beat up people who pick on you. It's like, yeah, well, he's just ready to fight. Like, yeah. It's good.
But of course, this is not death flags, but like, it's the setup that something bad's gonna happen. Like you give us the
Yes.
the high point. It's the sadness,
right, like,
the depression
exactly,
flags.
Yeah, Crona's got this all good. Man, Crona's got it good here. Oh no, it's like something bad must be about to happen. Right. Also, there's a bit with Soul and the piano, which comes up later, for sure. But like they do mention. Yes, they do mention that, like, he's played it once before for Maka, and that's part of, like, why they were able to become a pair. But now he's not so keen on playing it, so we'll about that. Foreshadowing, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, then we get a kid-focused arc, where he has to, they need to go grab a demon tool from the desert. There's a gag I like at the opening where, they're like, wait, you have super, your skin, the body of a Shinigami. Therefore you don't need the cloak. And he's like, yeah, but the cloak is cool. It's cool though. Like, but I also like how it even feeds into explanation of his with his hair and the stripes. So he can't, because the dye won't stick either. So he can't dye the asymmetry part of himself. So that's a good little detail where it's like, this benefit that he has with the strength of his body also is, he's imperfect in a way, or it keeps the imperfection rather. So that's nice. And also this was where I was really noticing there, because I really like the train. It's the way that it's very like exaggerated, like with the curves to sort of highlight how it's moving and just the wildness of it. I thought was cool. Like this is where I really started to notice, like, yeah, the art's gotten better for sure. I don't think I have much to say about, like, I don't remember if I have much to say about like the actual like fighting or anything. I'm gonna skim through and see if I change my mind, but
there was the one thing I distinctly remember is the part where he's like skating up the sand dune. And instead of it being like a symmetry gag, it's like, oh, he actually is kind of interested in skating. So he's like, it would be disrespectful to the dunes to not do a couple tricks.
Right. That was funny. And yeah, he wasn't commenting on like symmetry or asymmetry in that case. So I didn't think about that.
But I don't know. I guess I thought it was kind of interesting in that it's characterizing him through something other than just the one.
Yeah,
gag.
That's probably it. Right. Because like that is fair. But I think someone in the comments said that like his stuff is a slow burn. So like again I don't think I found anything super obnoxious this time. But I'm still waiting for him to get the good stuff. Because I feel like what I was picking up on last time is sort of. It feels right. Even though like I could be wrong, and there hopefully there could be way more to it, which that would be cool too. But you'll see what comes. And this is that's what. Okay, I'm stupid. I just realized something that actually kind of feeds into what I was talking about last time, because like when he we got the the guy with the gas mask or whatever, and he's talking about how like maybe Ebion, like he's talking about the Ebion and Shinigami connection and how, and like kids like, oh, you're trying to insult my father? And I just realized, like, because he idolizes his father and sees him as perfect, but obviously death is, even though he's the strongest being, like he's also just another being. So it's like, I guess what this is the service of is it's starting to like wear away to at the perfect like being he sees his father as, when where he's also had his flaws and issues. Like apparently he worked with Ebion or Avon. I keep Ebion. What? I've been saying Ebion the whole time. I'm stupid. Avon. God, there's gonna be comments like, "Wow, Craftsdwarf's pronunciation." I'm like, I can't say words. I'm sorry. I just my dyslexia. I don't know. I don't know how I did that. Why I did that. But yeah, and the guy was about to reveal a pretty important secret, so Sid murdered him while he was trying to explain it. So yeah, death's apparently not as perfect as Kid has, led himself to believe, and yet, so that, again, it doesn't get payoff, but it's good build-up, and I didn't realize, what it was in service to until just now. I said arc, but it really was just like within 2 chapters, and then we go back to the school. Crona is saying goodbye. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Medusa shows up.
Yeah. For the specific screenshots I have to go off of, I have, like, in the order that they are, I have, like, Crona smiling, and then the next thing is the image, like, the full page, where it's just Medusa in the alley looking all shady and shit, and it's like, no, fuck you, go away.
And then fuck. What's really hateable, like, because, like, the scary shit is, like, okay, obviously something bad's gonna happen, but then immediately that goes away, and Medusa's smiling softly and, like, I missed you, No, you didn't. Oh, no, and now you care about
this scene is so uncomfortable to read, because it's very, it's like the worst kind of abuse, because it's like, oh, like, the way that she talks and, like, frames the conversation, like, oh, ignoring everything that she had said before, like, oh, I don't need Crona. Now she's like, oh, I'm so happy you recognized me, and she's like trying to like relate to Crona and be more.
Only you can do. Only you can help me with this.
Yeah, and I've been very worried about you, Crona. And and then like the way she completely, like, it's very similar to like gaslighting, where she like is like warping Crona's perspective, like, oh, continue spying for me as you have been. And it's like, of course that's what you've been doing, right? Like, you've been working for me. Like, you haven't been, you don't have your own independence. And it's like, oh, you'll do it for your mother. And
oh, now you're Crona's mother. Okay, yeah, sure. God,
she's a bitch. She's a witch. She should I mean, like, it's a very
Crona's expression.
It's like, it's a very good,
it's just so shitty.
Like, it's a very good portrayal of that kind of dynamic and like the abuse and how that all is, but like, she's a terrible person.
Medusa's awful, but yeah, no, absolutely. And like Crona's expression, like, yeah, I understand, ma'am. Like, not mom, ma'am. Like, but then, like this face Crona makes afterwards, where like there's like the edge of his smile, but obviously our brows are very apprehensive. And yeah, because yeah, Medusa is ultimately the person Crona has known the longest. So, and yeah, she's very manipulative and shitty, and God. Maybe we should have read more, because we're already at the last arc almost of the reading. No, there's actually 2, because there's Brew and Clown, but
I do think that the placement of the bonus chapter, it was a very good tonal relief chapter, because after that I was feeling like a little anxious after reading that Crona chapter. I was like, oh, this is this is pretty dark stuff, and then it's just like Excalibur.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit first of like kid in the library trying to research Avon, and yeah, Crona's getting like anxious about having to spy, and oh yeah, that's right, because Crona feeds the snake to Marie.
Oh no, that's right. I forgot about that too. No.
Right. So the bonus chapter is right after, like, that chapter does happen first, but and then we do get the bonus chapter right after, like, seeing Crona. Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's right, because it is right after, like, because at the end of the chapter, God, the imagery is so good in these last few pages. Ending with Crona in the corner, and with the way the corner's like it's bent, and it's in the shadows in the corner is really, and Crona's like crying and sniffling, and
and you've got like the even before, where like with the bed, like it looks like it's got like the madness or whatever, like the shadows like underneath, almost dripping off it.
And like the light from the window is also forming like hands like reaching toward Crona, and then in the next panel you see Medusa reaching out her hands, and it's like, fuck, like, oh my God, it seems like since Crona's now betrayed the school, like Medusa's the only light Crona has, it seems, but it's Medusa. So,
yeah, and
God.
it's because like Medusa is intentionally, like, she's doing a very effective job of like, because like it's like, I really do like the way that this frames everything, because it, Crona, by all accounts, is in a situation where they are free from Medusa. They are in, like, the perfect place to be able to move on and, like, move forward. But that, Medusa being able to, like, twist and warp that perspective, it's very, like, effective at portraying what that kind of, like, toxic dynamic can do to people. Because even if Crona is by all, seemingly
Crona's
as far away from
free, but Crona is not mentally free at all, basically.
Well, yeah, because, like, Crona even has potentially the resources there, like, people that could help them, like Maka and
people who've said that, like, we accept you, like, Blackstar said, if anyone messes with you, I'll beat him up. Like, he's ready to fight Medusa if he needs to.
But
like,
that's just
how
deep the like trauma for Medusa runs, and how much it can, like, warp Crona's perspective to Crona thinking that they're, like, completely hopeless, like there's nothing they can do. And it's also at the part where, they're struggling to change, but they're trying to change, and Medusa twists that perspective to be like, oh no, you can't change. You were never even trying to change.
Even Crona trying to change, like, and by joining DWMA, she twisted that to being a spy. Like, oh yeah, you've, like, you're already working for me. Isn't that great? Like, you know exactly what to do. Like, that's just a part of your nature. You are my child, therefore you are, you're.
I definitely do get. I do. After that specifically, I was definitely, like, feeling parallels to, like, Killua and Illumi, and how.
When you brought up the insidiousness of the niceness, I thought of Silva. It definitely, like. Child abuse. We've talked about it a bit, or we literally just talked about it with Hunter x Hunter. So absolutely, yeah. Or did you have more to say? Or
yeah, because, like, Killua is kind of like in the Hunter exam. There's, like, the part where he is like, or Illumi says, like, oh, you can't make friends, even though Killua had already made like, he'd already developed that friendship with Gon, the abuse ran so deep that he's like, he was, it was enough to make him doubt himself. And it's kind of the same with Crona here, where, even though they very clearly have these strong connections and people who'd be willing to help them, there's still, the history behind it that Crona is able to doubt that. And it's a little uncomfortable to read. But it's like, that's because it's, like, really good at getting that.
Right.
That,
exactly.
Those ideas across.
It is basically the last we see of Crona this stretch of chapters, but now that we talk about it, I think, yeah, the Crona stuff is still the best. Like, not that Maka doesn't get good stuff, but like, damn.
I mean, yeah, like, that's what I'm talking about when I say, like, oh, Crona is, like, way above, like, I'd still say with this chapter that the Crona stuff is on, like, another level for me. And anytime they're on screen, I am, like, more invested in the story, because
I must protect this young child. Crona needs protecting. Someone has save her. I'm looking forward to when this comes to a head, because Crona is gonna keep beating themselves up about all this, but they're gonna accept him anyway. It's gonna be good. All right. So anyway, yeah. Bonus chapter. The return of we get Hero, and who's. Okay. Like, Excalibur is ridiculous. Like, the fucking where Blackstar calls him out on, like, at least get your story straight, and then it's like it just uses the exact same image of Excalibur for, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is there a 2-page spread in there of that?
It's
face?
A 2-page spread of just that fucking face. Right, I was about to say, one of those 5 panels is a giant 2-page spread of Excalibur's just blank ass expression, and Blackstar gets pissed off at him. Like, if you can't get your story straight, don't interrupt. And so he just doesn't say anything at all. Like, he refuses to get his story straight. And it also introduces, like, in particular, Killick, who becomes a character from here in the brew stuff. And Hero destroys everyone, even like easily with Excalibur, and then proceeds to go on like a power rampage with harassing girls and stuff, which is like, god damn it. And then of course it doesn't work out with Excalibur because he doesn't like the sneezing, and it's like, okay, sure, levity after the dark stuff, but oh well, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if this character will ever come up again. It was kind of just like an chapter, but I thought it was at least kind of effective at.
Yeah, but like balancing the levity because but after the Crona stuff and before the brew arc, so yeah, it's fine. It's just like I was just like like some of it was funny. It's just some of it was I was just like on so
No, yeah, Hero himself, he's just like he's a total scrub. Like what he does as soon as he gets the power, and then he just goes back to getting stomped on. And it's like, what, we can't really feel like they take the character who's like, oh, he's bullied and stuff, but then they make it so that it's like, well, he's not that great of a person anyway, so it's not like I can bring myself to care.
Right? Yeah, like.
But he also is just kind of this one-off character, it seems. So it's like, does he matter?
Yeah.
Does it matter if I don't feel sympathy for him?
Yep. Anyway, moving on to the last arc of the reading. Brew has been found. It's a big deal. We get a bit of Black Star training with Tsubaki and oh, that's right. They're doing more team resonance, and he's now I guess they point out that Black Star has now faced more failure than he ever has, and so now he's getting really like touchy, like he doesn't want to lower himself to Maka's level because he's like, why should I limit myself to resonate with you when I should just be the strongest? And then of course, yeah, we do find out that he's literally dying. I think maybe not now, but later. And yeah, Maka gets annoyed at him and like she's trying to understand him and get him to open up, which isn't working. And of course, that's the thing with Soul as well. Though not, that comes up later. And Tsubaki talks with Maka, and they realize that, or she realizes that, like, maybe, even if she doesn't understand Black Star, they're still friends, and they should still be able to trust each other, and that's sort of the crux of the team soul resonance. So they're able to pass so that they can go on the brew thing. Oh yeah, and then there's like a moment where like Maka does the hit me trope, and Black Star hits her. And she's smiling and well, this one struck me because I don't know, it's good that like, because she's a girl, yeah, and like, but like that's not made like the fact that she's happens to be a girl doesn't seem to be like that big of a thing, really. Like Kid doesn't say like, oh, like the way he says like, oh, you could have gone easy on her, like it doesn't feel like it's because it's a girl, it's because she just happens to be the weakest of them, like the fact that she's a girl doesn't like make that big of a difference. I think it's
nice. The way it's phrased as opposed to being like, how could you hit a girl or whatever.
Right, and she's just like treated. She's just like a normal character who happens to be a girl, and like it's not like and it's good, it's cool, and she's just the main character, and it's nice. Like refreshing is probably the word I'm trying to use.
I also think it's kind of funny how, like, afterwards she's got, like, that smile on her face, and then she's like, ow.
She's very good.
Because she just got punched in the face.
Anyway, they keep mentioning a line about how, brew is only suited to those who would actually create a tempest, and I definitely want to talk about that line, but I'll do it at the very end when we find out who. Well, I mean, we already mentioned it, but we see who gets it.
Actually, I'm remembering that like Maka and Black Star conflict when I it was another thing where like when I first watched it in the anime, I was like, why do they have beef with each other? Like this seems like it wasn't really set up. Like why is it being melodrama? but now going through it, it's just kind of like, I mean, it was fine. It's just
it sounds like this is, you're having a similar thing with your old Soul Eater takes that I did, though perhaps way more with my fairy tale takes. Because I mean,
at least I didn't make an analytical tirade on Soul Eater.
right. You only gave it a 5 because you still like stuff from it, obviously. Where I gave Fairy Tail a 1. So I hated it for bad reasons. God. I was dumb. But no, it's just the way you keep bringing up, like, man, I used to think this, but now I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Don't worry. So, but though it'll probably slow down after this because, like, I'm curious as to hearing about the anime ending. But we don't get to the point where the anime ends, is what you're saying?
What?
Or
I think it might have already started branching off because I don't think I remember the clown villain being a part of the anime, but maybe my memory is just bad.
Yeah, Bach Update said that the anime like adapts up to volume 10, and this reading goes to volume 11. So I would assume that they gave like an anime original ending to the brew arc in some way, or
no, because like the brew arc happens, and then there's like an arc after that.
So they do an anime original ending arc where the manga just goes into clown and proceeds from there, I assume.
I would probably be able to explain it better once I know where the next arc goes, because I'm...
Gotcha. So this is just like literally the worst possible time to discuss the anime original ending. So
yeah, because like I could talk about what happens, but I don't 100% know for sure if that doesn't at all happen in the manga.
Right, because they might have just skipped the clown arc and adapted from stuff late. I don't know, yeah. And maybe some of the comments will have it more fresh, or they'll already have read the manga, so they'll know that, yeah, the next stuff is completely original.
As we were going through the first stretch of chapters, and I was getting more of a better idea of like the whole fear conflict, I feel like, at least thematically, the ending of the anime might not even be all that bad. Because like in the conflict with Clown specifically, there's the talk of like, fear is kind of the antithesis to bravery and courage, and I remember that being a point in the ending of the anime. It might have just been more like the ideas were okay, but like the execution. But again, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, something about Maka turning into a weapon or something. I don't know. That sounds like, or that I believe they were describing the anime ending. So maybe that wasn't set up well enough, or like. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know if that's something that'll happen in the manga or not. Like that was just something that someone in the comments mentioned. So I don't know if I should have mentioned that, but oh well. I'm sorry. So they're going to find brew. It's in this magnetic field that you can't stay in for more than 20 minutes, which we find out why later. Their plan is and at this point we know that like. We know exactly what Medusa's been doing, like done to Marie, and the influence it's meant to have on Stein. So it's like the fact that these two are the ones going into the magnetic field, with like that's the plan. It's like, this isn't going to turn out well. Then we get introduced to the other students from the school, Oxford, Kim, and Killick, whose I would not have been able to remember most of their names. Well, especially because, like, I think at the end of the chapter there's a reveal with one of them, or two of them, rather. And I was like, oh, wait, should I know these characters? Because they kind of don't do a whole lot and didn't stick out to me. And then I went back and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I do know these characters. But we'll talk about that later. So, yeah, all the forces move out to the island. Saw gets into another fight with Justin. Sid they kind of resume battles, like, Mifune and Sid kind of like, well, Sid was gonna snipe Mifune earlier, but he got out of the way, but now they got a real fight. And then Justin and Saw obviously fought at the start of the reading. Maka can't, Stein and Marie go in. Maka can't sense them, so they decide to follow. Kind of just goes into things, I'm realizing. Like, there's still quite a bit to go, but they're already, like, everyone's fighting, and, they go into the magnetic field, and we see the, Shinigami-sama as an a younger, his younger form, like, because the magnetic field is also, like, a window to the past, where they get to see things, redone, as they used to be, before everything, the betrayal happened and the weapon exploded, or the explosion, that's right, because, like, Arachne's plan was to, like, retrieve the weapon in 800 years, so the explosion was part of the plan, but, and then this is the climax of that, but it didn't work out in her favor. So yeah, I don't have much to say. Like, I'm just skimming through, and, like, things are happening, but, Stein slipping into madness, Sid and Mifune are fighting. Oh yeah, then the kids run into Mosquito, who, transforms and starts their fight.
Oh yeah, Mosquito is another character, having more like flashbacks to my thoughts from 5 years ago. I was like, this, like when in the Black Star fight, when he gets like shot, I'm like, well, why didn't he just die? Like, why is he still here? He's not even an interesting villain. Which is like, we don't even really know much about him yet.
Well, see, and I wondered, did he, was he the, sort of start of your dislike of characters who just get bulkier and stronger? Which, I remember we talked about in Bleach, and, because he does that. But no, he has a little bit more, at least, with his, like, Mosquito thing, but I just thought about that as you were saying old opinions about Mosquito. I'm like, oh yeah, he just gets bigger, and, that's
I mean, maybe. I don't know if he would have been the start. I feel like it would have gone even further back than him, but...
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I just
mean,
thought
like,
about that
maybe there's more to him that will come up later. Because, like, I do think the whole dynamic of arachnophobia, where there's, Arachne herself, who is very kind of reserved and kind of hangs back and is kind of more proper. And then you have Chainsaw Guy, who is very vulgar.
Yeah. See, I forgot his name too. It's literally just Saw.
Oh, well, yeah, you've Saw, who's very vulgar and brash and like in your face. And then you have Mosquito, who is, I don't know, kind of in between ish. Like, he's definitely more of the proper, sophisticated kind of. He likes the finer things, and so when Saul just like cuts the limousine in half, he's like, "You whelp," or whatever.
Yeah, right. He's got a properness to him, and experience, of course, because he's old.
But I guess there's with him, maybe I don't know what the idea could kind of play off of at this point, but the way that he's always kind of going back. I guess with all these characters being so old, like, he definitely also has the thing where his ability is literally like rewinding time and like gaining his older form. So he's kind of got that stuck in the past sort of vibe going on.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Has to think about if that factors into the rest of the fight, which we're about to get to in a moment. Because Marie and Stein come out of the magnetic field. She's she's trying to keep the other students out, and like she's said, you guys will get expelled, and they're like, if we can't protect our friends, it's not worth being students anyway. Like, because she's unable to help them because she can't go back into the field. And of course Stein's slipping. He's starting he's like, oh, everything is my responsibility. I'm the failure, and he's like laughing, like he's not restrained anymore. He's losing it. Oh yeah, and there's also a moment in the fight that with Saul and Justin that I thought was interesting, because like he's like saying, oh yeah, because you're listening to music, your attacks have a rhythm to them, and Justin's like, no, they don't. Like, what are you saying? Like, that's not true. There's no evidence for that. Like, and I the way I see it is that, like, Justin is using the music and he's restraining himself in some way, where Saw is trying to get him to be unrestrained, basically, and it wasn't working. So that was about the only thing.
Well, yeah, because Justin's comeback is, I can read your lip, or no, what was it?
Or it was
he said, like, I don't even have to read your lips to know what you're gonna...
To know what... Yeah, that was vulgar, right?
And it pisses him off, and he's like, see? I told you.
Right, where so yeah, I'm curious as to how that conflict will evolve, because, that will definitely, like, that it really comes with Maka later, but it's definitely throughout. Though there's, okay, ooh, yeah, now we're getting to during the mosquito fight, where, yeah, it's like the art is really cool with that there's the one where you see Soul's back as he's coming to the piano, and like the piano, like the way
oh yeah,
it's drawn,
that one's a really good, just with like really the big
good, yeah, sort
of the darkness and like the kind of lighting to it.
Yeah, and Soul finally like opens up to everyone, and like they even talk about how like the way he's like sealing himself off and he's not living, like, oh, your soul is rotting out from under you, the way he's detached and not making connections, so he he lets loose, and through that they're able to like get strong enough so that it can soul resonate and actually start making progress against Mosquito. But yeah, they more fight to a standstill, and Mosquito decides to transform again, so they retreat, because also the explosion is happening in the past of the destruction, the destruction of the whole place and supposed destruction of Brew. But that's right, they get out, and Marie's like defying orders like that, and then she hugs them because she's just glad that they're safe. Marie's good. But yeah, the arc winds down. It's suspected that Arachne has Brew. They don't, but of course, like as like we said, that she rolls with it. She's like, well, they don't know that we don't have it. But then it turns out Medusa does have it, and I guess why I figure is because Brew Brew belongs to the person who will make the Tempest, and she's gonna be she's about change and and also destroying the old, and coming in with the new, and that's what a Tempest is. It's like this big force of movement and destruction. So she's the one who'll bring the tempest. So she's the one who gets it, basically.
Yeah, because you have DWMA, which is about like upholding the status quo and keeping things as they are now and trying to stop the spread of madness and everything.
Arachne. I'm not sure if I could quite pin, like, we know how she operates with like manipulation and the threads and patience, but maybe I just missed it. But I'm not sure what her ultimate goal is aside from just fighting with DWMA, where Medusa, like, we know her, her ideals from her talks with Stein. So I'm sure we'll get characterization for Arachne at some point, because that stuff with Medusa was like right at the start of the Medusa invasion, even if we knew she was antagonist before then. So again, I think it's just another symptom of the awkward
think
place I broke up the reading.
Well, yeah, because I think up to this point, a key difference. And, I mean, given the amount of chapters we've read, it's about as long as Medusa kind of got in the spotlight. But Medusa felt like she just had a lot more presence. But up to this point, Arachne doesn't feel as... I don't know. She doesn't feel as imposing yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, well, because I think, and part of the reason for that is that Medusa wasn't competing with anyone. Where now, like, Arachne is also, like, Medusa is also getting stuff with, like, Crona and in the background. So it's like, Arachne has been in about the same amount of the story, you could say.
Yeah, but there's also been the focus on Medusa.
Right. So even though Arachne is, we read the same amount of chapters, but she's ultimately been in less because Medusa is also there in the spotlight. So I know the Arachnophobia arc is, like, a name of a future arc. So I assume that's going to be the big Arachne arc. So hopefully we'll get more good stuff from her there. But yeah, like I said, this is just the symptom of the awkward place we read the arc, or I split the reading rather. So that's right. Arachne talks about how, like, she was just very careful, like, or she manipulated the battle with the course of one tiny snake, and, like, I guess she talks about, like, with Stein, and it was like, if it came too soon or too late, it would be. So it's like, I guess she had this right balance between, like, release and or madness and restraint, I suppose, maybe. Just a thought. But yeah, the DJMA realizes that there was possibly a spy because Stein's succumbing to madness doesn't make sense with Marie as his partner. So they call in BJ. So I guess we got 2 arcs left. Like, of course, once BJ gets there, Marie starts, like, completely changing because she wants to make her ex feel bad about how the woman he left behind. She's so stupid. Marie, I like Marie though. She's fun. See, mystery is always hard to talk about though, because, like, what gets revealed and what doesn't. So it's like it's neat to see the investigation. Like, I like the him interrogating, like, everyone, like Sid. Like, Sid even says, like, yeah, if someone I cared about was taken hostage, I'd agree to be a spy, but I'd also be trying to, like, fighting, working to rescue them, and being as little of no use to the enemy as possible. Like, it's good, characterization, and we get to see how BJ operates. Like, it's cool. And I also love when he's talking to Marie, and, like, Marie is trying not to come off as a spurned lover, and Maka's dad is giving her advice, like, no, don't say that you're content here working with the children. It makes you sound desperate. Like, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was also kind of funny when, she's going so far out of her way to look like, oh, I'm so impressive and whatever. But then BJ's just like, you wear that around your students, huh? He's just like, whatever. But it's, I don't know. It's kind of amusing because it almost like flips back on her to where it's like, she's making herself look so extravagant to be like, she even says, like, she's trying to make him jealous or whatever. Like, oh, wouldn't it make you feel bad if, your ex or whatever looked so like they were doing so well? But it's almost like she's overdoing it, and it's kind of for comedic effect.
Well, yeah, like, she doesn't care so much that she's showing him how much she doesn't care, which in turn reveals that, yeah, she actually cares a lot. Like, even when, like, he's looking at her chest and she's, like, getting embarrassed, but then no, it's actually because he's noticing the snake around her soul, and he, finds that, someone slipped her this, and this was how they were able to, like, fuck with Stein, and, so yeah, that happens, and then we realize that we find out about Black Stars dying. So I mentioned that earlier, but now it's this is when it comes into play. I forgot, because he's told that you're not a god, you're just a human being, and he's even saying like he's losing it basically, and because like it doesn't it definitely doesn't get resolution here, because like even like there's like the little time skip between this one and the clown, and Blackstar just leaves. Like he's just gone. Like, where'd he go? What's going on? Oh yeah, so Blackstar wants to fight Kid, and Maka separates from Soul and ends up overhearing that Crona's working with Medusa. And I did like, well, because like obviously the solution is like, hey, Maka just talked to Crona, but she did, like, she was hesitant at first. I think I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
Well, yeah, she kind of gets caught in the position where she's like, well, do I tell people at DWMA? But like she's also like on Crona's side, like she doesn't want, because she's like, oh no, but Crona's trying to kind of change and kind of improve, and so to then like make Crona a suspect.
Just outing her would risk put Crona at risk, but so obviously like, she doesn't want to do that, but then but she does decide to just talk to Crona, but by then it's kind of too late because Crona's gone.
Crona leaves, Blackstar leaves, Stein leaves, everybody's leaving.
It's all it's not going well. Maka's dad talks to Stein. He talks about how like he's so locked in his restraint, like he's not even being curious anymore. Like, Stein's usually bursting with curiosity, but now he doesn't even care about the investigation. Like he's and he tried, like you mentioned earlier, what to say. He tries to get a cigarette, and Stein's like, nope, if I can't stick to not smoking, I won't even be able to hold out, and it's not looking good. And then BJ and Marie kind of talk about their past a bit, and why he because he was avoiding her because he didn't want to be able to like have his soul perception events where he could just read under everyone's thoughts, and he didn't want to get that close to her, so he distanced himself, but now he's regretting it, and they kind of just decide to try again. I should have noticed how bad he was popping death flags. Like,
well, I guess it's also kind of that he just got there, so it's like they're gonna Ohkubo's gonna kill off a character that got introduced like last chapter, but yeah, but
even said like, I've been getting this sense of impending doom ever since I arrived here, and she's like, like, oh, this cup could be poisoned, like I don't which is that's not fortunate. He's like accepting of that, but it's just like, I should have noticed the death flag's coming. Anyway, Blackstar's, because he's so like angry and on edge, he's not really able to tap into his soul wavelength, so he can't even really do anything against Kid.
It is interesting that he ends up fighting Kid by himself, because like he can't connect to his soul. He can't resonate with Tsubaki either.
Right? Yeah. And he like, normally he, because of his like the repeated failures, he doesn't know he can only go forward, but he's he's burnt, it's not, he's burning himself, it's not working out, and now he's only running into more failure, and then he gets compared, like Sid's like, wow, yeah, that reminds me of White Star, and I'm like, excuse me? What did you just say? White Star's, supposed to be dead. I assume he's still dead. I don't know why it's a Shounen that, things happen. Sid's alive, even though he's dead. I don't know. I'm just like, it could just be a flashback, but we're probably, we're gonna see this at some. It'll probably be a flashback, but we'll see this and I'm curious. I'm looking forward to it.
Meanwhile, when I saw that, I'm just like, I'm not a white star. I'm a black star.
I understood that reference. But yeah, Kid pretty easily destroys Blackstar, and he even voices his disappointment. Weren't you supposed to, like, what happened to you? Weren't you supposed to transcend the gods? And
I really like the way that it kind of ends, where there's like, he like knocks him down to a knee, and then like, but Blackstar is still like trying to keep himself up, because then he gets like knocked down to his fist, and then he gets like smashed into the ground, but he's still trying to like get up.
Even there, he like scrapes the ground for like, he puts the fist on the ground, and then he gets smashed down again. He even tries to like scrape the ground a bit before he passes out. Like, he's just, giving up isn't in his like dictionary. He just refuses. So even at this point, when he's basically at his lowest, he's dying. He can't soul resonate with Tsubaki. He can't use his resonance himself. He's just he's transcending nothing. He's completely fallen.
Yeah.
Anyway, then BJ, his soul perception exceeds the witch's soul protection, which and he's like he just like starts tripping out, because he's seeing like the madness and everything, and it's implied that he gets killed by Stein, which may have very well, because there's cigarettes and there's the pack, the empty pack that he was smoking. Stein doesn't even remember it happening if that's the case, but it's definitely a mystery left in the air. And then we see Medusa looking on, bitch, making her faces.
Well, then there's also like the cuts to Crona during that, so it's like, did Crona do it? Like, cause they talk about trying to put the blame on Stein.
Yeah, well, and even then, we'll get to it later, but like the teachers are still like willing to give Stein a chance because they don't know what happened. So, like, they even say like, yeah, if we just take you to DWA, you'll just be killed. But so, you're gonna help us find out what happened. Because even if like Stein did do it, he was manipulated like by the Medusa. So it's like it's complicated. There's also talk about how BJ, like Medusa's talking with the frog or her minions about the soul perception, and she sort of says, as long as we'll be fine as long as no one else develops the ability, because like they talked before about how like this conflict between witches and DWMA, where like the witches develop soul protect, and now allowing them to like exist without being constantly hounded, and this is the next evolution. I presume Maka is going to get it because she's been highlighted as the character who's the best at soul perception. So it would make sense.
Yeah,
that she
and it's also why would this character be introduced with this ability if that was going to be the end of it? Like it seemed
right, especially with Medusa literally saying like, as long as no one else gets the ability, we'll be like, she's saying it in a way that she suspects that it will have eventually someone like will get it again because she which makes sense because she's the one who's the most aware and conscious of progress. So but she's even saying, I guess maybe that's even a contradiction because she's saying that, well, if someone else does develop the ability, we'll have to make them disappear. Like, which, where the real, what she should be thinking about is like finding a way to get it so that like, finding another witch technique to avoid even that better soul protection or, something like, make progress, where instead, like, now she's thinking like just destroy the new thing. Like, so I wonder if that'll come up with this contradiction between with her ideals basically. So that's interesting. I didn't think about that earlier. Yeah, the teachers go with Stein and talk about BJ's murder. There's a line about how like Stein feels no love, but Marie still wants to help him anyway, or go with them rather. But yeah, Blackstar and Tsubaki leave, and that's the last we see of them this reading.
Yep, they're going to Japan.
Yeah, but Maka decides to talk to Crona. Crona's saying that Medusa or the frog comes and says that they're leaving, and Crona doesn't want to leave, but ultimately Crona does. So like Maka even checks the corner, but yeah, she knows it was Medusa, so she's mad.
Yeah, because you also get the where Erica the frog even mentions that Maka heard like Maka saw you talking to me.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
and right. So then, like, Crona's probably got, like, that doubt of, like, oh, no.
I'll be rejected and hated, even though, we, as the audience, know Maka would never do that, but Crona doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the characters go over, like, a mission board, and they see, like, Blackstar had reserved some missions, but, he even wrote, like, a note for, like, oh, this one seems like an easy one that Maka would take, or something like that, condescending towards her, and she gets mad. I'll take this one, then. And then, Killick and Ox go on their own mission. There's one of the 3 students, extra students that we got introduced to last arc that didn't get mentioned in this chapter. Isn't that weird, Mathwiz? So anyway, Maka and Kid go off to do the clown. Okay, so this moment did bug me a little bit, though, even though it wasn't necessarily, like, it wasn't Kid's fault, but, because, like, he's freaking out about the, like, oh, maybe I didn't fold the toilet paper properly at home. And then Liz sees the factory monster and the danger. She knows Maka went into it, and instead of, like, she's like, Kid, let's leave. And I'm like, that's not a friendship moment. That is the opposite of a friendship moment.
Yeah.
Let's leave Maka in obvious danger and just leave ourselves. Like, hold on.
She's also normally, like, the voice of reason person, but in this case, she's like, nah.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I'm curious as to if that will be addressed in the future, because, like, going to what this arc explores is, like, she's having a lot of restraint to the point of, like, putting Maka at risk, when Maka learns to sort of embrace part of that madness, yeah. Also, Blair's here for some reason, whatever. Like there's a bunch of like little gag stuff with Blair fighting the pirate guy, who I was like, hey, this guy seems familiar. What? And I was like, oh yeah, he's the pirate guy from that one kid chapter, who's coming back, and he's he's an agent of Kishin Ashura. The clown gets awakened. Another minion of Ashura. Oh, that's right. Liz is kind of afraid of ghosts or something, right? Or was it Liz?
Yeah.
Or okay, so that's that. And yeah, they also reason that Blair's with them, so they'll be fine. So okay, they do address it, but I was still kind of like And yeah, part of it's Black Star's fault too, because he's just freaking out and not doing anything. But anyway, Maka's fighting Clown. Like the Clown takes on her appearance. He reasons like, I'll give you freedom if you fall to your madness. And we see Maka's worst fear with like everyone she cares about dying because she's not strong. Then we get Soul sort of like, again being the sort of rock for Maka, and her madness is like, like lets her play on his piano so they connect. And like what they talk about is interesting because like, they talk about how like madness kind of leads to courage. And I thought that was interesting because like there was even a comment talking about how Maka, and I was talking about it too, how Maka's kind of fresh in how she's like, she's not the go forward, do things protagonist. And like I think Togashi's even said it about Gon, where he is kind of insane, where like, and like, Luffy, like they're the type of characters who just go forward, do what they want, and yeah, they are kind of fucking insane. So here's Maka kind of embracing some of that madness, like it ties it to courage. So it's like, obviously there's an issue with like complete lack of restraint, but here she's kind of embracing some of it to have, some like, because she needs that courage to fight her fears. And so, connecting with Soul and embracing some of that madness isn't like, because it's courage, it's not like, and I guess it's kind of interesting about Asura because he's a character completely controlled by fear, yet he also inspires madness in others, which again, Maka links to courage. So, another, idea thread that I'll be thinking about later on, I suppose. But yeah, they're able to soul resonate and comes up with a new Devil Hunt / to fight. There's random Blair stuff that doesn't matter. Yeah, the clown tries to engulf Maka in fear, and she breaks through it. It's cool. And yeah, so then the arc ends with Sid talking to Shinigami and talking about how they have some witches in Death City, and it turns out that Kim and it's like is at the witch mass, and yeah, she's a DWM student, also a witch. So yep, and that's where it ends. Did you have any thoughts about any of that? I kind of just kept going. I assumed you would interrupt me, but
I mean, yeah, like the new character being introduced, turning out to be a traitor. There's not really much of like a punch to it because I don't really know anything about this character. But yeah, the fact that
my issue is
it's more just like I'm kind of waiting to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. Like, did you have any thoughts on the clown stuff? Because I just realized I just kept going and didn't leave.
No, I didn't jump in because I didn't really have much to say.
Yeah, I kind of figured. And yeah, I had the issue, like, I was like, this character seems familiar, and then I went back and was like, okay, it was this character from before, because I didn't remember her name, and, yeah, like, because she doesn't leave as much of an impression, I think, where, like, Ox obviously showed up before, and he's got a very, very, silly looking, but also very immediately recognizable
design.
Well, yeah,
because the other two, they have like the designs, and they at least get kind of like fighty moments. But she's the one
Killick
who
has like he has the fists of fire and lightning, and that's cool. And he also has two partners just like Death the Kid does, so he kind of stands out in that way. Like they're way more instantly recognizable. Where Kim is just like, yeah, she's a girl, and she even has a different outfit too, so that didn't help. Like, yeah, she's just kind of there with the others during the brew arc, and then I think she got groped by Hero in the bonus chapter, and it's like, yeah, that'll help her stand out in my brain.
Was that even her? I don't know.
I think it looked like her. I thought it was her. Let me go back, actually.
I thought they were all just random characters, but maybe they were.
I gotta check my curiosity.
But yeah, the only thing I really know about her is that she like signaled the retreat, and that was kind of all that these two characters have done up to this point. Part of me wonders, like, just as like a speculative theory, like, could she somehow be the third witch sister somehow? Because like
that would be
what we've determined so far is that, I mean, Medusa was able to switch bodies, so like appearance doesn't really matter at this point. So even though like this character looks younger than Medusa and Arachne did, that doesn't necessarily mean. But I could be way off. Maybe it's someone different entirely.
Yeah. Also, it does look like she was in one of the people harassed in the bonus chapters. So tragic.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, that's
it's just kind of like okay.
Yeah, she exists. So yeah, you know, fine reading. Again, like it leaves a lot in the air and to be resolved later. So probably my fault. Awkward placement of, you know, the chapter breaks, but I don't know. We still got a decent enough discussion out of it, I think. So you know, I'm still looking forward to more. Crona's still good. Maka's still good. The rest is like, you know, hopefully it has cool payoffs. So yeah,
because now we're definitely at the point where I don't remember. You know, this is getting into the manga only stuff. So
yes, so it'll be but largely fresh to you, and yeah, that should be neat. So thank you for listening. Leave your comments and we'll reply, and see you next time.
Well, wait, did you even say what the reading was going to be?
Oh, fuck, I forgot I did that. See, I haven't done the Nen Show in so long. I'm just like, yeah, how do I do the Nen Show again? So next time is a bit longer. It'll be chapter 44 through 71. Arachnophobia will be included, but as usual, like, you know, there's a lot of Soul Eater arcs, and a lot of them are like just 3 or 4 chapters long. Though I think Arachnophobia is a longer one. Like Brew is a little bit longer, but or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But yeah, 44 to 71. Thank you for listening. This time for real. Goodbye.